I'm Eric Teo. I'm the qualified person for pharmacovigilance at Sanofi. I'm here on behalf of FPR to provide the industry's perspective on the public hearing on Valproate. The Valproate public hearing was a very important milestone in the personal experience of many people. As an industry whose aim is to improve patients' lives, we empathized with the experience shared by patients, patient representatives, and families. We also acknowledged the views expressed by healthcare professionals, doctors, pharmacists, and the challenges they face every day. I am here today to present the views of the pharmaceutical industry on the public hearing. I would like to begin, firstly, with comments on the organizational aspects and practical arrangements of the public hearing. And secondly, we will comment on the public hearing's impact on the risk minimization measures. And finally, we would like to discuss the role of the public hearing on the Article 31 referral process. This was the first public hearing of the EMA, which the industry supports in principle, provided such hearings are balanced and well-structured. In the event, the Valproate public hearing was well organized with clear communication on the event, widely disseminated in advance. There were focused and concise questions posed by the Prague, and there was a wide range of stakeholders who were given the opportunity to participate. Sufficient time was given prior to the public hearing to participants to prepare. Overall, the public hearing fostered an atmosphere of transparency and provided a forum for stakeholders to communicate their views in public. So here, thank you and congratulations to the EMA and the Prague and the organizers. We also wish to share with you the perspective of the marketing authorization holders. We empathize with the individual experiences and we acknowledge the difficulties faced by patients and families. However, according to regulations, marketing authorization holders are not allowed to directly communicate with patients. Therefore, the public hearing was also an opportunity for the marketing authorization holders to listen to patients, to take into account patients' views in making proposals. Now we would like to put across a few points for practical considerations. A fair representation from all stakeholders is important to balance emotions and personal experience on one hand, and scientific data on the other hand. In the event, 16 speakers who were representatives from patient, family, healthcare professionals, academics were selected, including one marketing authorization holder representative. So our suggestions include, similar to some of those already voiced earlier by the earlier speakers, broader participation should be encouraged to include a more diverse group of participants from more member states and indeed more marketing authorization holders. We would also urge the organizers, the EMA, to consider the allocation of time. In the event, there were a total of 112 minutes for the participants to speak, and there were a total of 7 minutes given to the marketing authorization holder, who actually holds a lot of data set on the effectiveness of risk minimization measures, on the research that is behind the molecule itself. Thirdly, we would also request that the EMA to consider the order of the speakers. Perhaps this could be rearranged to group together the presentation of data from the MAH with the academics. Seating arrangement could probably be reorganized to take some of the pressure and the emotion out of the room and reduce pressure on some speakers. And finally, while overall it's very well organized, we thought that the management and speakers and question time could still be further improved. For example, some observers and speakers spoke without regard to the original questions posed and brought in a lot of questions relating to compensation, for example, which was not the objective of the hearing. There were observers who also took far more time for interventions during the question time. Now we would like to move on to the next topic, which is the public hearing and its impact on the additional risk minimization measures. The public hearing contributed opinions and perspectives to the effectiveness of existing risk minimization measures and new measures, which were question 2 and 3 posed by the Prague. For example, the out-of-box warning and the pictogram. The public hearing also contributed to thinking on research as outlined by Astrasia before, and will leave a long-term legacy. So these include the registry study, for example, registry study on switching and discontinuation. And as marketing authorization holder, and in the case of Sanofi as the originator, the companies are actively engaged in the planning of the research and the implementation of the research. However, due to different decision-making at national level, the additional risk minimization measures may not be implemented or implemented differently across European Union member states, and therefore may not meet the expectations of some members of the audience at the public hearing. As an example, the pictogram. And I think this needs to be explained to the public. In the example of the pictogram, it has been rejected in 4 member states, which are Germany, Denmark, Hungary, Sweden, and it is expected that more countries would reject the pictogram. The public hearing could also lead to expectation that changes would be visible very soon. Although we know that, people in this room probably know that, due to regulatory procedure, it often took much longer to implement the various risk minimization measures. As an example, the education materials, as of the 17th of September 2018, the last update that we have was, it was approved in 11 countries in Europe, which means quite a lot of other countries still have not approved the education materials that were being planned by the marketing authorization holders. Therefore, they could not be distributed, and patients in those countries would therefore not see the materials, and the doctors and patients would not see the materials. And finally, public hearing might have led to pressure and unrealistic timelines. So in this case, for example, as mentioned, some of the studies, the timelines for the post-authorization safety surveillance studies and preclinical studies, which were part of the conditions for maintaining the marketing authorization, the timelines were very tight for the marketing authorization holders to meet. And in order to ensure that all the stakeholders are actually engaged and the studies are planned, well planned, and to be executed, more time is needed. And I think here there could have been pressure from the public hearing that led to the very tight timeline. And finally, the public hearing and the ongoing procedure. We take the view that the public hearing could have led to public pressure on competent authorities of certain member states. There was widespread coverage in the media in some member states, including national TV. Some competent authorities took unilateral action while the Article 31 procedure was still ongoing. For example, there was local initiative in member states to change the national labeling before the end of the procedure. There were also requests for educational materials to be submitted before the end of the referral and for reduced packaging size before the end of the referral. Whilst the good intentions of these competent authorities are acknowledged, these actions pose challenges to the marketing authorization holders because of the discrepancies of the information to patients and healthcare professionals across the country. So that brings me to the conclusion for discussion. In our view, there was success in advancing, in the public hearing, in advancing the broad objective of engagement with the public. This, the industry applauds. The public hearing also contributed to the views on the effectiveness of existing risk minimization measures and ideas on additional new risk minimization measures and research. However, there was a need to better balance testimonies and personal experience and scientific data contributed by different stakeholders. The time from public hearing to changes visible to the public could be long. So this needs to be explained to the public and expectations managed. Finally, the main objective of an Article 31 referral is to harmonize information across the European Union. Public hearing could inadvertently create pressure on some competent authorities to take unilateral actions which might have led to divergent labeling. The lack of harmonization for some risk minimization measures makes the implementation difficult and could complicate the analysis of the effectiveness of these risk minimization measures. I'd like to thank the EMA, the PRAG, the healthcare professionals, and most importantly, the patients and families who participated in the process. Thank you.